Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to this episode. And today we're gonna be studying about the Punic War. Well, the first Punic War. Yeah, yeah. Now the first Punic War was because of Romans. See over there, Romans and the Carthaginians. Yeah, this is basically Carthage, aka Tunisia. They had a conflict over the island of Sicily. Now, let's get straight to the point. The only reason why Romans and Carthaginians had a war was because of this island in particular. Now, you see, now this is Carthage. Okay, let me just, yep, there we go. Now this is Carthage. Like, yep, Carthage. Then they already had this part of the island covered. Now, these are the Romans. These are the Romans. They want to capture this island entirely. But of course, that has yet to happen. Now they were already having tension from each other, but the entire thing that sparked the entire war was this conflict in the island of Sicily. Now let's move away from the board. In the island of Sicily, they well pretend this is Sicily, okay? Actually, no. Let's just yeah. There we go. That's better. Now in this Sicily area, this part was already captured by the Carthaginians. However, the Romans, yeah, Romans, yeah. Let's just put them there for now. Now, yeah. And then here's the deal. This part is called Syracuse. Syracuse. Now, basically, the Syracuse had a bunch of people called Mamertines. They were mercenaries hired to protect Syracuse, of course. So, like, here's the deal. So, when Mamertines, so when they kicked out the Mamertines, they stationed over here and then burned stuff. Like Syracuse, like the Mamertines, was openly hostile against Syracuse. But then when they started fighting back, they were actually getting pushed back. Like they were getting pushed around by Syracuse. So of course, Mamertines, being the dummies they are, they called for help for both Romans and Carthaginians. Help, they said. Help. Now, when these two are factions, when these two armies, okay, okay. Now, when these two armies they met over here. No. It needs to be less bigger. There we go. Now, when these two armies they met over here, the Carthaginians were confused as to what they should do because both of them are fighting for the Mamertines, but both of them are fighting. But of course, the Romans being Romans, they decided to rush the Mamertines, and then out of confusion, the Mamertines retreated. So that was the first victory. So this was the first victory of the Punic War. Victory of the Punic War. Meanwhile, back in mainland Carthage. Okay, let's go back to mainland Carthage. Let's go back to mainland Carthage. Okay. Okay. Now this island in particular. And I want you to be gone. Oh, yep. Now this island in particular, now Carthage was kind of frustrated. Like, how did you lose? Like, Like, how did you lose against the Romans? Like, how did you lose against the Romans? So like, here's the custom about Carthaginians. This isn't very important in terms of actual like story. I mean, but regardless, the Carthaginians had this tradition for every time a commander lost a battle, they would execute said commander. Like, that's why they retreated instead of attacked. Regardless, this conflict was the entire like beginning of the Punic War. This stupid war against the Mamertines. Okay, that's one thing you need to know. So what happened after that? Well, let's just say they had a bit of a ruckus over here. They were kind of in a stalemate. But however, one of them wanted to push. They like to push as much as possible into Carthaginian territory. But the Romans had no navy. No navy. No navy. So they can't supply their armies over here. Like, they were starving. They were just sitting ducks. So they had to make a way, like they had to make a way to make a boat. And then fortunately for them, a random Carthaginian ship managed to get their way onto into Roman area. So like the Romans copied that design. So they copied that design and then made their own boat using Carthaginian design. Look at that. Now that's basically theirs, and then this was basically Carthage. So now both of them have a navy, and so when they clashed near this area of the sea, what happened here was chaos. The Romans got killed because they were inexperienced, massacred. Yeah, here's their boats. Here's here's Carthage boats. Now, of course, the Romans were defeated because they were inexperienced. So buy and then buy and buy. So the Romans had to think of the idea. They have to think of an idea. They had to think of an idea where they could transform a sea battle into a land battle. Think of it like this way: the Romans don't really know how to make boat. They don't really know how to navigate the seas. So like they're noobs, noob. Carthage, on the other hand, they were the professionals. Look at this. This is them basically. They were pro in terms of naval battle. Shit, pro pro in terms of naval battle. So the Romans, they were the master at land battle. So they had to think of the way to make their boat turn sea battles into land battles. And I kid you not, their idea was to build a massive toothpick with a teeth on the side, so that whenever a Carthaginian boat would come close, a Carthaginian boat came close, you see that? This would basically do this, and then, wait, wrong marker, and then this would go bang, and then it would break the hull, and then Romans came coming in and then massacred the Carthaginian army inside the boat. Now this strategy was really really effective and then helped them won a lot of skirmishes against the the Carthaginians. But however, here's what happened. Here's what actually happened. Now, while they were winning on the sea battles around here, yeah, you see that. Okay, pretend these are boats. While they were winning over here, they still had to penetrate their defenses because they now have a proper navy. So one of their consuls or one of their leaders decided to go rush them, and eventually they were actually kind of successful. So by the end of the war, here's what was left. I mean, okay, yeah, but let's just skip to the end game. So like, here's the last. Okay, now here's Roman territory. Yep, yep, that's right. They were winning against a massive siege, a long siege, and then here's basically Carthaginian territory. There was one last stronghold here. Search that name. One last stronghold here, and then they failed to penetrate it. But they failed to kind of penetrate it. Failed. They tried to siege it. The Romans tried to siege it over here, but maneuvers were always successful. Like, yep, it doesn't matter. They were still getting supplied. The barricade didn't matter, but eventually it kind of fell. It kind of fell because they were running out of money. I believe that's it. So, anyways, one of their generals was getting funny ideas about rushing them in the mainland, itself. So then the Carthaginians did not take this threat seriously because oh wait, oh right. Now they were not taking them seriously. Why? Because actually before this the Romans actually lost two entire fleets. Like you see this boat. You see this boat. Now imagine inside that boat is 100 boats containing a thousands of men. And then in just two storms, they were just wiped. Rome was running out of money, and so was Carthage. So in the end, when they were planning to mainland rush them, they put up tiny defense, like pathetic defense. So eventually they lost. But Romans couldn't push on to mainland Carthage because they were also broke, and then decided that to launch them crippling debt, to launch the Carthage area into crippling debt. You see this? They're now out of money, and yep, that's basically it. But this debt and humiliation caused the birth of Hannibal. Yep. Yep, Hannibal. I'm sure you've heard about him. We'll talk about it next video. Yeah. To summarize, Romans and Carthaginians were having a conflict at the island of Sicily. But in the island of Sicily, the event that finally sparked the entire war was because of Syracuse and Mamertine's conflict. And out of confusion, Carthage lost the first battle. Right after that, right after that, they tried to push Sicily, but apparently they were too fortified. So after that, they also tried making a navy, but then the Carthaginians were obviously superior to them. Eventually, a stray Carthage boat sailed all the way to Italian shore. So they copied that design and then added a Corvus. a corvus which was very effective against Carthaginian fleets, and then eventually they were having superiority over the Mediterranean. But then, when they eventually captured the entire island of Sicily, they were having plans to capture the mainland Carthage itself. However, the Carthaginians did not take these fleets seriously because they were out of money, and such an invasion would be too expensive for them. So in the end, Carthage lost, Romans won, but they did not manage to actually launch this area into. They didn't launch an invasion to this area. I think that's it for the first Punic War, and thanks and goodbye.